So the hub is making noise. I suspected it is broken because it was moving a shit ton when the wheel was on. It's actually probably worse on the rears, but that's for later. We're tearing this apart for now. So, alright, so my phone died yesterday, and this is how everything looks. So this moves freely because I already unbolted that. That's why it moves like that. It usually is really stiff. This way, though, it's really good. Again, it's unbolted, so yeah. This thing's kind of dead. Obviously, inner tie rods are dead. What's actually 100% dead is this. That is supposed to be really stiff. And also the ball joint, which we got, yeah, it's pretty bad. This is supposed to be stiff as well. Hub makes noise. And this thing's actually brand new. Oh my god, I can't even move it. Oh. So this is new. And I'll just have to remove this. This is actually decent, except for this ball joint again. So yeah, I need new bushings, especially that one. Not as much as this one, but that one, yes. This ball joint is fucked, even though that bushing is fine. But yeah, now I need to order more parts. You're not ready for this. That's not supposed to move.
And I end up buying even more parts, especially those compression arms, or seat arms is what they're also called. And then I start taking off the cross member, and things get really difficult with it because it is super rusty. It was packed with dirt on the inside of the shell, and it started rusting from the inside basically because of that. So that caused a lot of problems.
I want to show you what kind of bullshit I'm dealing with right now. I have a torch here. Fucking doesn't help. So the number one was that this bolt, which is exactly the same as what this problem is right now. It's completely fucking rounded off. And the extractor tool fucking stripped it more. I've never experienced an extractor tool fucking slipping. It usually fucking grips on and takes the thing off. This fucking shaved it off even more.
And even after trying the air hammer on the bolts and heating them up, torching them up, I even tried putting weld material on it because, well, I was trying to still heat it up because the torch wasn't as powerful, and that was the most powerful torch I had. But no matter what, nothing worked. Even welding a nut on top of the bolt, trying to take it off, the nut would basically just snap off every single time. So the decision was made to just cut the bolt or the bolt head off, or actually try knocking the loose pieces of the cross member off to the side in hopes to break the heads off the bolts, and so we can get the parts off. And in fact, it was like when I broke off the bolt head, the metal was as if it was welded the actual rocker panel. So what I ended up doing is just basically drilling a hole and tapping in new threads and putting a smaller bolt size inside of that because it was quite literally welded itself on there. And I mean, it still holds. It's not the way I would have liked to solve the problem, but it is what it is. It holds, it does its job, so I'm happy with it.
And I'm whacking as hard as I can. Can't remove that bolt. I'm hoping to just break the bolt off with the bolt head. I got it. But you know the bolt is bad when it comes off with the other side, when you try to take it off. And that nut that came off with the other side, which was actually welded to the frame, and it was welded to actually the thinner part of the frame, like, it was so rusty that it just came off, and basically what I had to do, and now I have to weld a new nut on, and a little back plate on it, because it just broke off, and how this car is built in the factory, and a lot of cars are, is that the little nut is welded inside of the frame, and then that bolt basically just goes through and attaches that cross member. Okay, back to the video. So, and there's the other piece of the cross member. So, it's completely garbage. And the whole cross member is off. And then all I need to do is just the other side of the suspension, which I haven't started at all. And yeah, put the new cross member in, or I guess replace these if I have these. Actually, let's see if these come out. There you go. And yeah, I also completely forgot to mention how much rust came off this car. Like, it's just unholy amounts. Alright, so just like that, front suspension's out. And this is this side. I already started putting new parts on. So this is new, I just have to tighten it.
So basically at this point I just ended up finishing the entire suspension rebuild on the front, and all I have to do is now do the rear suspension, and there's not much there. I'm not going to be doing a full tear down. I am going to only replace the rear hubs, which it's actually just a bearing assembly. For whatever reason, Rock Auto didn't sell hub bearing assemblies, and instead they only sold the bearings. So I basically I have to separate the hub from the bearing and then put the new one on. And the other thing I have to do is the rear shocks and probably bushings, because that seems to be a weak point. So that's about it. And basically, I finished the front suspension and put it together and started working on the rust, as it's time to get back to it because, you know, I kind of left it out for pretty much a video and a half now.
This is further into the teardown. And this is how it looks. And I'm starting cutting up basically this rocker panel. So what's going to happen is the top is actually fine. It's actually solid metal. It's this piece right here, as you can see, it completely rusted through. And that's not me cutting, that just rusted through. So what's going to happen, there's this angle right here, apparently is a little too big. I think it's more than 90 degrees, so it's going to be really difficult to do with a metal brake. So what I decided to do is actually not touch the top at all, just leave that alone, and then basically butt weld the other component, which I'll actually make for this. And then I'll make some holes so that we can actually weld the rocker panel cover to this support here. All right. Here is the rocker panel cover. This like bend here, that's how it looks like. Honestly, this is as good as it gets at making it at home, honestly. Like I had to hammer this, like tuck this edge in with a hammer and a 90-degree L bracket, just kind of press it in, and that's where I mark the line. All right guys, so what's going on? So we cleaned out this section here, and this is all rotted off, especially the bottom part over here that mounts to this piece, and then kind of does like a double, should do something like that. Or I guess this would be a better example because it's not rusted, but this is how it's supposed to be. But this piece rusted off on the other side. This is like everything is empty here. And also part of the support as well. And part of that support, this whole entire piece has to go all the way to the bottom. Except this one. This one's still good and that one's still good. So that's pretty good news. I'm still yet to cut this off. This is a little more difficult than it seems. And as you can see, I actually, let me lie down here. See how straight it is over here? And then here just kind of dips. So before that, when the rocker panel cover, like the plastic was on, I actually found the little indents right here to jack up the car. But because this car's so low, and you basically end up just like guessing most of the time. And then I jacked up the car on this, and then at some point I just kind of dipped a little bit. And that kind of spooked me out for a second. But I'm like, okay, it's not falling down anymore. And I was actually doing my wheels and everything. So, yeah, and this is the problem right here. As you can see, it's not all the way down here. There has to be like a triple thickness metal. Unlike over here, where it's only 2 layers, one from this side, one from that side.
And skipping it forward, I basically weld a piece on, fix the vertical supports that are a little rusty, and basically here's the end result here. The welds don't look very good. It had to be tack welded, plus the metal's kind of thin. The thing with my welder is that since I'm running an extremely long extension cord, I'm actually losing power. So I had to really adjust my settings on my machine for it to weld and not burn through. So that is a bit of a difficulty. I'm running like 12 gauge extension cord that's like 50 feet long. Guys, don't do that. Like, get yourself like a 10 gauge. I couldn't get it because where I live, like a cord that long that goes from my house, because our garage doesn't have power, a cord 50 feet long at 10 gauge, which is a thicker extension cord, costs about $250. And that's the cheapest one I've seen was $220 for an extension cord. So I basically ended up just saying, let's just do it with what we have. And the welds, they have really good penetration. Definitely had to hold it in there longer, but that also meant I had to sacrifice the quality a little bit. Well, at least the looks. The penetration is really good. And it actually holds really, really well, which I'm really glad for.
All right. Just got that panel out. It actually looks better in here than the other side. And here too, it's mostly just surface rust. So, yeah. I decided to say fuck it and just cut it there instead of trying to get those out, because the tack welds here turned out to be really neat. And here it turns out, like, you know, when they held the tack weld a little too long and it's splotched, it basically, instead of being this wide, it's like this wide. So, yeah, I couldn't get it out. So, yeah, I decided to cut it. And there's a massive hole here, which I did not make, and that's rust. And here it's actually looking decent. What I noticed is better is the B-pillar here is not rusted out like on the other side. Finally forced that piece out and drilled it out. And we'll probably have to do the same thing as on the other side. We had that like this vertical plate, except we won't weld like the 90-degree corner because it already is included in that. There. So yeah, we just won't weld it because it comes with the new part. So, but we will have to make the vertical here. All right, so my friend helped me weld this. And this is the final product, I guess. Well, almost. We still have to do the other side right here, and also the quarter panel and the arc, which is, yeah,